Marina. She's talking about the peace movement of Bangladesh. Thank you.
감사합니다. Thank you so much. My topic that I am supposed to talk about is Roadmap for Solidarity to Peace in Bangladesh, and I feel like I consider actually myself as a nobody to talk about such a crucial topic. It makes me utmost privileged to be here, to be talking in front of you guys, and not just to be talking in international platform. It's also because I wasn't supposed to be here. Like the people, the students of Bangladesh were not supposed to be here if the fascists didn't run away from our country. I was supposed to be shot dead or kept in a prison or a concentration camp, which we call as Aina Ghor. Yes, and my situation would have been horrible. My family would have been searching for my body remains. And this is the situation if you politically spoke against the Prime Minister, the then Prime Minister of my country. So apologies in the beginning if I may not be able to keep my voice straight because of the traumatizing memory that we hold from the July uprising. Now, you might be thinking that what actually happened wrong with Bangladesh. Bangladesh was economically growing, the GDP was standard, even it also graduated from LDC to the developing countries, in Bangladesh, in the whole world. And what actually went wrong was actually from a propaganda from the Prime Minister. Now, there's one thing we all have to agree upon, that what the government shows about the prosperity of a country is not always the truth of that country. Looking at North Korea, we can also say that, right? So from that point of view, the misery of price hike, living 1/4 of our population, barely managing to survive, was hidden behind the fancy infrastructural developments that the government used to portray. The violation of freedom of speech, resulting in brutally murdering 2 journalists in our country, was hidden behind the celebration of the graduation from LDC to developing countries. The death of 1,000 people actually was hidden behind the Prime Minister's mere cry about a metro station destruction. So this was the situation in my country, and the middle-class neutral families who were not politically biased, were forced to obey the political party or like a god, and we were forced to mourn month-long for the deceased father of the then Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, and channels were shut down if they used to broadcast any kind of news against the political party. The political leaders of the opposition parties were even disappeared, and the elections were tampered from 2009 to 2023. All the elections held in Bangladesh were dummy elections, what we call, because we were not able to vote. The people were not able to vote. So from my childhood, I am used to see just one political party in a so-called democratic country of my own. And this actually made the fascist regime or the ministers of that political party being like Goebbels, and they were lying and keeping their leader in power. So me, during my whole life, couldn't see a proper election. And in my high schools, even when I was in my college, I was forcefully given a transfer certificate just because I spoke against a political leader in my area. And there was an extortion of 2 crore from my school, and I wasn't able to speak against that. Even in 2018, when there is a road safety movement happening in Bangladesh, I was one of the protesters, and there was a fake case filed against me, so that the leaders or the frontliners of the movement disappeared or goes against the bar of the police. So the public vexation or the unlawful assemblies were denoted as treason in our country, and the protesters or the students' leaders were often cherry-picked by the government so that we don't get to speak out about our human rights. So even in 2014, when the coordinators of July Uprising were labeled as Razakar, which is known as the national traitor by the Prime Minister herself, because we spoke against the unlawful discriminatory quota system that she used to impose on the government job. So as everyone was talking about peace and human rights should come hand in hand, I feel like if we spoke against the unlawful deeds of the government, the peace was vanished and the human rights was not even close to be ensured. So there was a compromise. If we need peace, we had to forget about the basic human rights, the human right of freedom of speech. We had to forget about the hunger. We have to forget about how we can survive. So peace in Bangladesh was a compromise with the basic human rights at that time. Now, as a political leader, as a new emerging political leader of my country, as we all can see, my political party just publicly expressed itself 1 month ago. We are very much optimistic. The Bangladesh Democratic Student Council is very much optimistic about the international help and coordination that we're gonna have from all of you from South Korea, and not only South Korea, but also the United Nations, because we feel like we're looking forward to building a nation-wide community pressure rather than a community feelings, because we already had the community feelings. We had United Nations working for all the countries, for all the nations, but also it sometimes failed to ensure. We look for international help and assistance and even interventions in countries where there are emerging fascist leadership, in countries like third world countries like Bangladesh, India and Pakistan. For that, an in-depth study should be there to know the actual situation, not only the situation that we see in the documented papers. So when we see the UN-sanctioned vehicles in our country was used to shoot people, when see helicopters were used to shoot down people from the sky, we feel like there is no one to hear us, there is no one to save us. So we need a safety, we need a worldwide safety, we need a safety that reaches to the citizens, to the general people of every country, not just the high officials that we sit together and have a table discussion with. So we feel like with that we also need a political emancipation. By that I mean that any general citizen of a country should have the audacity and should have the dare to be a political leader. Not just what happened in my country, what used to happen is there were only 2 families from where you can have the political leaders. Apart from that, nobody was able or nobody was dared to speak against anything. So I feel that kind of political emancipation is really needed in the South Asian countries, and also to preserve the right of the politicians. If in any opposition party, it's not just if my party comes into power, we are going for having the utmost ability to speak. We also need the power, we also need to preserve the rights of the people who are in the opposition party as well. So as we were talking about that, Mr. Cho was talking about that in South Korea, the politicians, the opposition political people they cannot stand each other. But I think that the political maturity or the political grooming should be like such that where we can actually respect the opposition party's ideology, we can respect and we can stand their saying or their thoughts. The elections, lastly, that should be in any third world country should be an international priority, and during the elections there should be some international interventions to make sure that it is actually ensuring democracy. Safety of the protesters is another thing that everyone is really wanting from my country, because whenever a general student is going for a protest, nobody knows or nobody can ensure their safety. Even my family was concerned when I was going for the protest that you will be disappeared, you will be killed, you will be just shot dead, and nobody actually cares. When Abu Said died, the first martyr of our July uprising, nobody actually cared, and his body wasn't even found. There were bodies dragging from the police van And actually, no such United Nations, no such human rights organization could do anything for us at that moment. So we need international, nationwide safety for any kind of protester. Even any guy after my party comes into power goes for protesting, I need his safety as well. I believe that all the protesters with any kind of justful movement should have the safety to live. And the cultural influence that we are having, like May uprising is celebrated in Korea like this. I feel like every uprising should be celebrated in a cultural way. That would be a nice way to propagate all the memories and all the sacrifice that the people of that country has done. And also Mr. Hinnan said about women's participation, as he said that it is often said as a shield or as a support, rather than saying how we were the frontliners of a protest. So we should also prioritize how a woman is actively participating nowadays in every protest, and the more I will be sharing tomorrow on the women's session. So lastly, I would ask the ICIC that to verify the crime report against the then Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and bring justice to my country. That's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Farhana.